Hey, kindergarten friends. We are going to finish up our chapter book today. 8 class pets plus 1 squirrel divided by 1 dog equals chaos. So let's go over the friends that we have met so far. Very first was Twitch, the schoolyard squirrel. He's the one causing all this mischief. And then we have Green Eggs and Hamster, the first grade hamster. Then we met Miss Lucy Cottontail, the second grade rabbit. Then there's Sweetie, the library rat. Think about who came next, see if you can remember. A school of neon tetrafish, the third grade fish. Ooh, who came next? Who was in the 4th grade? Lenore, the 4th grade parrot. And then we had Nancy, the art room turtle. And the last character we met was Angel, the 5th grade corn snake. So I know that some of you are noticing there's an extra person sitting with Miss Brady today. This is Mr. Brady. Everybody say hi, Mr. Brady. So the next characters that we're going to meet are Galileo and Newton, the science lab geckos. So this chapter, as you can see, are 2 different people talking. So Galileo and Newton are talking together. So Mr. Brady is going to be Newton so that he can help us know who's talking when they say it. All right, let's go. Most geckos sleep by day.
But we are day geckos.
So we sleep by night.
And are awake during the day.
Just like the students in Mr. Russell's science lab.
Well, most of them. Some of the students seem to sleep during the day.
Our scientific family name is Geckonidae.
And our
genus
name is Phelsuma. We are
reptiles.
We live in vivarium.
Where there are plants.
And bamboo to climb on.
And crickets and mealworms to eat.
Sometimes we get mangoes. I like mangoes.
I know you do. I prefer the house flies, which are crunchier.
But not as sweet.
Mr. Russell teaches science.
We like science.
Every year, Mr. Russell has a science fair.
We especially like the science fair.
It's fun and instructional.
That's what Mr. Russell says.
I was quoting him.
Quoting is fine. Copying is wrong.
I know that.
The students make replicas of the solar system.
And the human eye.
And volcanoes.
I like volcanoes.
They do experiments with helium.
And fruit flies.
Sometimes we get leftover fruit flies.
Some of the children bring their pets in and do a report on them.
We've seen kittens.
And tree toads.
And mice.
And worms.
I don't think the worms were pets.
Sometimes they do a special report on us.
We are very photogenic.
We never blink when the camera's flash goes off.
That's because we don't have eyelids.
We've seen demonstrations on fire safety.
And the Heimlich maneuver.
And how to make paper.
Sometimes things go wrong.
Not often.
But sometimes.
Sometimes things go very wrong.
That's how we knew what to do when the squirrel, the hamster,
the rabbit, the rat,
the macaw,
and the snake. Don't forget the snake.
I wasn't going to forget the snake.
They came into our room.
They said the dog was going to get loose from the box and come after them.
They said it was an emergency.
We know what to do in a case of emergency. Dial
911.
I was going to say that.
I said it already. You can say the next part.
But that was the exciting part.
The next part is exciting too.
Not as...
Stop sulking.
Dial 911.
I already said that.
Yes. Now we've both said that.
Yes, Newton. Now we've both said it. Only I said it first.
So they asked, what does dial 911 mean?
And we showed them the telephone.
I showed them the telephone.
I showed it too.
I showed it first.
Luckily, the hamster knows his numbers.
And the snake was able to knock the phone to where the rat could reach it.
The rat has dexterous fingers and press the buttons.
The macaw yelled, "Help! Help!"
The squirrel knocked some beakers on the floor so there was the sound of breaking glass.
The rabbit screamed.
I never heard a rabbit scream before.
Somebody should mention it in science fair report.
Here's that rabbit screaming, "Ah!" The emergency people came fast.
They always come fast.
But then the snake was falling asleep because he's a reptile.
Like us.
And he needed to go back to his vivarium with the heat lamp.
We like our heat lamp.
And the turtle likes hers. She kept saying, "Wait for me, guys." She didn't catch up until
The principal came.
his face was almost as red and splotchy as the snake's belly. Look how angry the principal looks. Oh my goodness.
That means he was mad.
I was telling that by showing.
It took a long time to round up all the animals.
Except for us, because we're still here.
And the fish were still in the tank, even though their tank was in the wrong room.
And the turtle wasn't hard to catch.
Neither was the snake, asleep on our floor.
The squirrel ran outside during the confusion.
So all that leaves is the dog.
Do you know the scientific name for dog?
Of course I do. It's...
Family Canidae, genus Canis.
You always like to get the last word in, Galileo.
No, I don't.
Yes, you do.
Do not.
Do.
Not always. All right. Say thanks, Mr. Brady. Bye.
Bye.
All right. Let's go to the next chapter. Cuddles, the principal's dog. Let's hear from the dog. Master lives right next door to the school he owns, so I get to see him a lot. Sometimes he brings me to meet the children there. This would be a perfect place to live, except for that nasty squirrel Twitch. Twitch acts like he owns the yard. He eats the seed Master puts out for the birds. He jumps from tree to tree just out of reach and calls down to me that people like squirrels better than they like dogs. He says that's why Master ties me to a long rope leash when I'm in the yard. He says that's why Master puts me on a short chain leash when we go for a walk. No leash for me, nuh-uh, Twitch brags. He runs back and forth just beyond where the leash stretches to. He says, "Ha ha, your master doesn't make me wear a collar and leash to keep me in one place. He must not trust you, Cuddles." Twitch seems to wait for me to be watching before he'll climb into the garbage can at the edge of the playground. "Oh, Cuddles," he'll say, "there's wonderful tasty garbage in here today. Here's a French fry and a half a bologna sandwich and some macaroni and cheese. I can't remember, do you like macaroni and cheese, Cuddles?" I stand there drooling, knowing I can't cross the short distance to get into that delightful sounding garbage can. Sometimes the only way to avoid Twitch is to go to sleep. That's what I was doing when Twitch ran right over my nose. Yow! That hurt! I just knew he did it on purpose, and I went running after him. I was so mad that I ran so fast that the rope leash broke. I kept on running, pulling that long rope with me. And there Cuddles goes, running after Twitch. An owl was chasing Twitch, too. I don't know what Twitch did to get her mad, but I saw Twitch was heading for the school. The man who works for Master cleaning and repairing the building had hung a big banner over the door that said, "Welcome," because Master had invited special guests to come the next day. The man had left the door open while he was putting his ladder back in his truck. "Don't you dare go into Master's school," I shouted at Twitch. Guess what? He ignored me. In he went, as though he owned the place, just the way he acts as though he owns the yard. The owl knew school was off limits. "He's all yours," she said, winging away. I was in the right, but the trouble was, all the pets took Twitch's side. From room to room I went, chasing Twitch. A few things got knocked down or spilled or broken, but it was all Twitch's fault. Those pets all work together, even animals that shouldn't work together. Finally, they knocked a big box on top of me. It was dark in there. I wasn't sure if that snake had been trapped inside with me or not, because the pine shavings kind of smelled like him. He didn't look like the kind of snake who bites, but you can't trust snakes. I hunkered down and sat quiet. I could hear the pets laughing out in the hall and having a good time together. It was like a party. The squirrel was telling jokes, mostly to do with me. And the hamster and the parrot were telling everyone about how their names came from books, and they were all acting like it was a big deal. And the rabbit was saying they needed to get out and get together more often. And they had to figure out a way for the squirrel to join them too. And she asked the rat if he could open all the cages again the next day. And the rat said yes, in between carrying on about something or other to do with Cinderella. And the turtle said they could all work on an art project together. And the geckos were saying they know how to make a working volcano, and did anyone want to see? Even the fish were saying something. I don't know what. It was too bubbly for me to understand. I wasn't hearing the snake, which was part of the reason I suspected he was under the box with me. But I had just decided I needed to get out from under there, snake or no snake, when suddenly there were sirens, and people came rushing in, shouting, "This is the police!" I heard the pets scatter, and then someone lifted the box off me. No snake, but I saw something worse. The person who lifted the box was Master. "Cuddles! Cuddles, what have you done?" he asked. "Bad dog! Bad dog!" There's Master lifting the box off. I tried to tell him about the squirrel and about the pets, what the pets were planning. But Master has trouble understanding more than the simplest things that I say. He usually gets, "I'm hungry, and I want to play, and I gotta poop or pee," but that's about it. He obviously had no idea what I was saying in the school. He had just taken hold of my collar when other people ran into the room. Some had black hats and shiny badges, and some had red helmets and boots and a hose. "Is there a thief?" shouted one of the men. "Is there disorderly conduct?" shouted another of the men. "Is there a fire in the walls?" shouted a third. And a fourth asked, "Do you need us to knock a hole in the wall?" And he raised a sharp axe. "No!" Master cried. "No, no, no!" He sounded upset. Upset means danger. Any dog knows that. I lunged forward and barked at the man with the axe, barking, "Back! Back! Back!" Master held on to my collar. "Cuddles," he ordered. "Sit." I sat because that's what a well-behaved dog does. But I kept on growling to warn the man that he'd better be on his best behavior too. The man with the axe backed up so quickly, he knocked into the man with the hose, and the man with the hose backed up so quickly he tripped over the box that had covered me. He fell and must have done something to the hose because suddenly water shot out of it. Whoosh! The water hit Master so hard it knocked him down on his bottom. Oh no. "Stop!" Master spluttered. The man with the hose turned the stream of water away from Master. Whoosh! It caught one of the shiny badges men, causing him to land on his bottom. I bit at the stream of water to tell it that it was bad. The man with the hose ran away, still holding the hose so that it had squirted at the desks instead of the people, but for some reason, Master didn't thank me for saving him. Once they got the water turned off, Master locked me in his office while he and the men with the badges and the 3 men with the helmets rounded up the pets. It took a long time. Master was still wet when he came to get me. He was also tired and grumpy. He took hold of my collar and held onto it all the way out of the school, across the schoolyard, across the backyard, and into the house, with his shoes going squish, squish, squish. "Cuddles," Master said, "I don't know what got into you. Tomorrow was supposed to be a special day." I hung my head. I hung my tail. Master crouched down beside me and looked deep into my eyes. He said, "I bet you have a story to tell." Then he said, "And I wish you could tell me." He fluffed my ears. "I still love you," he said. I wagged my tail and licked his face to tell him I loved him too. Being a dog is the best thing in the world. Now we're back to Twitch, the schoolyard squirrel. But look how Twitch looks now. He doesn't look so confident. That was a close call I had with that dog. And then with all those people running around school, banging doors open and yelling, "What's going on here?" and squirting each other. As much as I know humans love squirrels, I ran out of school as fast as I could because those people were having way too much fun playing. And I knew from watching kids play that that meant somebody was eventually going to come and yell at them for it. And sure enough, after all the other humans had left in their cars with the spinning lights, the man who lives next door to school brought the dog out. and he had a tight hold of his collar and was saying, "Bad dog." Humans can be smart about certain things. The next morning I went from window to window at school to check up on all my new friends. They were back in their cages, but otherwise they looked fine. The humans, however, did not look fine. The man who cleans the school stood in the hallway and looked at the floor smeared with paint and water and soggy pictures. He said, "This is too much. This hurts my head. I need to lie down." There's the man that cleans the school. He looks pretty frazzled. The man who lives next door to school said, "You can't do that. The visiting artist will be here any minute. The mayor will be here. The people from the newspaper will be here. You need to clean this up right now." The children said, "Our art projects are ruined. We'll never win the contest. There's no time to start over." The teachers were all saying, "Don't blame my hamster. Don't blame my rat. Don't blame my snake." Everyone was unhappy. "Blame the dog!" I shouted from where I sat outside the window. But nobody paid attention because just when the person called visiting artist came in, he walked slowly, watching where he put his feet. He looked at the splattered, pattered upon floor with all our paw prints and rat tail tracks and slithery snake S's, and the marks made by the wheels of the cart with the fish tank, and a few bits of feather left by the macaw, and piles of glitter that had come unglued from the pictures that were floating in the puddles that hadn't dried from last night. He said, "Oh my." "We're sorry about the mess," the man who lives next door to school said. "Perhaps you can come back another day." "Mess?" visiting artist cried. "Nonsense! It's perfect! Anyone can decorate pieces of paper, and walls are so obvious. It takes vision to think to make art out of a floor. Your students are brilliant. You are brilliant. Your teachers are brilliant. You must all come to visit me in my studio." So then everyone was happy again. And I have to point out, that's thanks to me. I took a little bow, sitting there on the window ledge, although I don't think the humans saw me. The turtle saw me. She waved, I think. She moves so slowly, it's hard to be sure. It can't be easy to be a turtle. It can't be easy to be a human. I'm glad I'm a squirrel. A squirrel who is brilliant and who has vision. Not that I'm exactly sure what vision is, but I think it has something to do with being able to outrun a dog and to make friends wherever I go. Being a squirrel is the best thing in the world. The end. I hope you guys liked this book, and I thank you for reading it with me, and I'll catch you next time for another chapter book. Bye, friends.